Good morning, everyone. Welcome to councillors, welcome to individuals in the gallery, to everyone online. Today is April 8th, and this is the Committee of the Whole meeting. I would like to call the meeting to order at 9:30 a.m. And I'd like to start with a land acknowledgement. The municipality of Jasper respectfully acknowledges that the municipality of Jasper is on Treaty 6 and 8 territories, as well as the Jasper House Métis district. This land is a traditional territory, meeting ground, gathering place, traveling route, and home for the Danze, Assiniwachi Niwa, Assinawuchi Winawak, the Nahayawak, Anishinaabe, Secwepemc, Stoney Nakoda, Mountain Métis, and Métis. I would like to also start with recognizing that this is Canada's National Tourism Week from April 7th to 11th, the 15th annual Tourism Week. And this year the theme is Canada is powered by tourism, as is this community. Just a couple of quick stats: 2 million people across the country work in the tourism sector, and our country sees over $120 billion in expenditures annually with tourism. And with that, I call the meeting to order. I'll ask if there are any additions to the agenda. Councillor Keller-Hamby.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Melnick. I would like to add community matters. There's 4 items under it. Trailer lots, the storage lot that is situated in the S block, dust, fire pits, and the closure of Geikie Street on the 900 block.
Thank you. That's item 7.2 now. Any other additions to the agenda? Seeing none, could I have a motion to approve? I see Councillor Waxer looking to, she is joining us via Zoom. A motion to approve or to add the additions to the agenda, correct? All those in favor? That's carried. I would now ask for a motion to approve the agenda. Councillor Demoda. All those in favor? Thank you. Moving to the agenda, the first item would be, or next item would be number 4, which would be business arising from the minutes of the March 25th Committee of the Whole minutes. Is there any business arising from the minutes? Being none, I don't believe we need a recommendation to approve these minutes at this point. They were approved at the last regular meeting. We now move on to item number 5, which is delegations. And it is at this portion of the agenda where any member of the community can come forward to address council on any topics on the agenda. And if there is anyone who wishes to make a presentation to council in the gallery, we do allow discussions on topics of the agenda. Presenters will have an opportunity to speak for 3 minutes. And then at that point, if council has questions, we can ask the presenter at that time. Is there anyone in the gallery who would like to present to council? Thank you. I see 2 hands. Would one of you please come to the microphone? Thank you. And I'll ask you to introduce yourself and which item on the agenda you wish to address.
Thank you. My name is Margot Walker, and I would like to address the RV lots in S block.
Thank you very much. Please go ahead.
I have notes because so I don't want to forget anything. I wanted just to start by saying that in March of 2021, we were number 53 on the list for trailer lot. That was in 2021. In July of 2023, we ended up at number 60. I don't know how that happened. We went down 7 spots instead of up, but that's an aside. We do not personally have a lot in S block. So I'm here to represent many people I've talked to that do, and also those of us on the waiting list. No consultation was done on this issue of residents being evicted from their storage spaces to create an industrial pop-up. By contrast, plenty of consultation was done on the business pop-up. Why were the residents affected not consulted? Most found out about the proposal through a vaguely worded email demanding that they remove their RVs. Administration has not made a convincing case that this specific space is needed. There are plenty of spaces in S block and other places that can easily be used for this purpose without disrupting the already severely disrupted residents. There's plenty of on-street parking, the entire paved lot between S block and the railway tracks, several lots in S block. Ellis Dawn is only utilizing about half of the huge parking lot they are occupying. Parks Canada could be asked to use the Wood lot and or Sleepy Hollow lot on the west end. Additionally, there will be space available on private property and in S block where leaseholders won't be rebuilding soon and could use the income if rented to contractors. The suggestion that fence space is needed for security is really not realistic. Contractors don't leave their tools on the ground. They use lockable enclosed trailers and sea cans, and it is their responsibility to ensure their security. The business pop-up on the Connaught parking lot, for example, will not be provided fenced space. Residents are feeling that administration is not being quite honest. The RFD, brought to council on February 25th, implied that the eviction of tenants was temporary and specific to address a recovery need. However, it has become clear that evictions are intended to be permanent because the municipality does not want to be in the business of RV storage. We find it offensive that council and administration are taking advantage of the devastation of the fire to effect a change in an essential community service. In the case of a business pop-up, a public parking lot is being used, but in this case, a lease income generating space is being seized for other private interests without consultation. And residents who have for years been cooperative and have paid relatively high market-based rents in order to keep streets from becoming RV parking lots are being targeted. For years, administration has completely ignored the RVs, trailers, and other vehicles parked throughout town on public streets in contravention of the bylaws. And now, law-abiding cooperative citizens are the ones being targeted. The RFD suggests that RV storage service provided is unimportant simply because there are relatively few residents using it. Please be reminded there are approximately 80 income generating lots and an equal, if not greater number on the waiting list, many who have been on that list for decades. There's clearly a strong demand for the service. There are actually more residents using this service than some other municipal services, as for example, the transportation. Services may not be.
If I may, we're approaching a 4-minute mark. I'd like you to maybe summarize if you could.
Yeah, in conclusion, I'd like to remind you that we are not like most other municipalities because we live in a national park. We cannot buy or rent a piece of land, start an RV business. We have no other options. And to you, our councillors, I would like to remind you that you were elected by the residents of this town to represent and work for us. And I urge you to think outside the box that has been presented to you by administration. There are many better options than this poorly conceived one of kicking our residents when they are already down. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. I appreciate the presentation. Councillors? Any questions at all? Your worship?
Thank you, through you, Deputy Mayor Melnick, to the presenter. I appreciate that a councillor has elected to add an item to our agenda because there are people here who wish to speak to that, and we respect that there is a process to allow that. It is challenging when there is a matter which is not on our agenda, which gets added last minute for councillors to be prepared. So I will consider comments from yourself and from the public. But I will say that you used the word that you found it offensive. I find it particularly offensive that someone will come into our public chamber and accuse our administration of being dishonest. Administration presented a report to council for council's consideration, recognizing exactly the things that you have mentioned. That is, we are in a national park setting with a limited land base. We have a community that is struggling to recover. We needed space to allow that recovery to happen. This is not a service that is typically provided by any municipality, and we face the same challenges, that there is limited land which can be devoted specifically to recovery. So, as I say, I have no questions, but I want to make it clear that we attempt, and I think we do a good job of maintaining decorum in this quorum. But to come in and accuse our administration of dishonesty, I particularly find offensive, and I put that on the record.
May I respond or?
Councillors? Councillor Hall.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor. I do have a question and I have a comment. I'm curious if you tuned in to the 2 meetings where we discussed this proposal.
I did not.
Trying to keep my composure. Last July, every single person that lived in Jasper and called Jasper home lost something, devastating losses. Whether you lost your home or you lost your sense of peace in this community, we are all feeling something. No decisions up here have been made lightly or without incredible consideration, knowing that decisions we're making will affect residents in one way or the other. Like the mayor just said, our land is very limited, and every square centimeter of land within our municipal boundary has been assessed. And while losing your recreation vehicle storage lot, it is displacement. We found, and I'm not going to speak for all of us, but I will speak for myself, that putting displaced industrial businesses that lost their spaces in the industrial park there and more lay down for construction was better for the entire community. The wood lot is going to be for construction lay down, and due to provincial regulations is not suitable for storage. I'm going to just test my knowledge here, but please correct me if I'm wrong, administration, isn't suitable for storing RVs. The Sleepy Hollow Road is more space for displaced residents to live in their RVs. As far as transit, every quarter report come, we are exceeding our projections. So I don't find that argument valid. But I would encourage you to tune in. We can somehow get you those 2 meetings and listen to the conversation that we had around this, because it came to us twice and we spoke to it fully. This was the conversation that we had, again, knowing that these decisions we're making are affecting residents in one way or the other. But me personally, I felt that space was better used for displaced industrial businesses and more lay down. This isn't a forever thing. CAO Gibbon even said in our second meeting that this can come back to another council at another time. But in the meantime, right now, for the next 5 to 7, 8 years, it's needed for other things around recovery. I appreciate you coming. This is what we want. We want residents to come. I do share the sentiments of the mayor that this wasn't on our agenda. It's hard to be prepared for this. Yeah, I appreciate you coming, and those are my thoughts.
Thank you, Councillor Hall. Councillor Keller-Emily.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, and I apologize to administration. I brought this up because I've had many residents come to me the decision at council is the decision at council and it's made. I brought it up more as in my mind, when I brought it up today, it was for advocacy. What I was hoping is that this could be transferred to Parks Canada when we have intergovernmental to work on the side of advocacy to see if we could find a plot of land around Jasper that's disturbed that maybe the residents could use. They were the concerns that were brought to me and I said I would bring them to council and I would advocate that we bring it one step farther and add it to our intergovernmental.
Thank you, Councillor Kalarampi. Any other comments by Councillor DeMona?
I think that Mrs. Walker wanted to respond to a few comments she did ask, and I don't know if you heard, so before I speak, I just wanted to give her the opportunity, if you'll allow it.
Thank you.
Nope.
Ed, go ahead.
First of all, I apologize for the word dishonest. It wasn't meant as a blanket statement to all of you, councillors. It was more about the letter that I saw that was sent out was very vaguely worded. It didn't say anything about this was a permanent decision. It just seemed that it wasn't transparent. So I shouldn't, the word dishonest was too strong of a word. It was more just, it felt like a lack of transparency on actually what the reasons behind it. Oh,
Thank you.
probably a good thing. That's mostly what I wanted to say.
Thank you for that. Any other councillors? Councillor DeMona?
Well, I want to go back to some of the meetings where I've made comments, when we've had representatives of agencies or other people that come to council. Maybe a lot of community members might not be aware of the processes and understand, some of the decisions we've made. And I understand, like, I learned some lessons during the pandemic, and people in the community all have their different perspectives on their situation. And to council administration, I know some of the things that we get might not be in process, and they might be a little offensive to us personally. We've had a lot of people and even councillors that are affected differently, and we don't know how everybody's feeling in the community. And I don't want people to feel unwelcome. We have another presenter here, and it's very easy to get offended and defensive about things. And one of the things I always try to tell people is, like, being offended is a choice. If people say something to you that particularly hurts, you have a choice on how to handle that. And I'm not saying any response is right or wrong, but at the same time, if people are feeling something in the community, and it's not just one person, it's a few people, they might not represent the majority, but they might represent more people that we don't know. And I believe that their sentiment is valid and it's worth listening to. So I just want to, when we talk about decorum, I want this to be a welcoming place, and it's very easy for us to really feel protective about decisions we made and administrations made, and again, like, we've all been affected differently. I'm just asking people just to be a little bit more open and understanding, particularly where it's coming from. We all have a different perspective. I don't mean to get too preachy, but I think that if people want to come and speak, if there's an opportunity, we should allow them. And this is a little bit of a different process that we're used to, but we have people here, and we often talk about not getting engagement, people not coming to council meetings, but they're here. And I think that we should allow ourselves to be a little bit more open. And I don't mean to be offensive by saying anything that I said. I'm trying to come from an open place. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor DeMona. Your worship.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. No, like I feel that was a bit directed at me, and
No,
I am quite prepared to be open and listen to people. And I choose to be offended when our administration is said to be not honest. And I am quite prepared to hear the public on this matter, and I voted in favor of adding it despite the change to the process. But we have an obligation for mutual respect in this forum and in the community. And yes, I will hear the arguments, I will hear the complaints, and now I've heard an apology, but I'm not offended for myself because it was not council that was accused of being dishonest, it was our administration. And we have an obligation to defend our administration. All the matters that they brought forward were done so in a public way, and we dealt with them as a public body in the presence of, well, I don't remember how many might have been in attendance in the room, but they could watch on the Zoom platform or on YouTube. And they should see a process that is respectful throughout. And calls of dishonesty, I think, are not, and I choose, as you say, to be offended by that. It's not a personal offense, but it is something that we ought not to tolerate in this public body. And I accept from the presenter the apology. She agrees that she went further than she ought to, and I respect that she said that, and I thank her for it.
Councillor Demona.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, and to you, Your Worship, that was not directed at you, that was to the collective and the entire meeting space, so I just felt the energy shift here, and I was just making a point of wanting it to be a welcoming space, that's all. It had nothing to do with you personally, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Demona. I see no other hands from councillors.
I have 30 seconds.
Well, not normal. Please go ahead,
Okay.
Mrs. Walker.
The overarching reason to be here today was, first of all, I was under the assumption that it wasn't going to be on the agenda. It's not my fault that it was, I didn't know that. But also, the overarching thing is, I don't disagree with the idea of finding a place for the contractors to have their stuff. Obviously, we need that. This town needs that. That is not the concern. The concern is, are there other places they could go? So that we're not disrupting the residents any further than they're already disrupted. And I think that there are other options to look at. That's my overarching reason. Thank you.
Councillor Hall.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor. I really do encourage you to go back and look at those two meetings because like I said, every square centimeter of land within our municipal boundary was assessed, and the woodlot and the Sleepy Hollow Road. I just want to express my appreciation to administration. These are very challenging times. We're coming into a very challenging time of recovery. There's highs and lows, and we're coming into a low. And I want to encourage residents to stick together. We will not get through this if we're not together. Yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Hall. And with that, thank you, Mrs. Walker, for presenting. We are still on item 5 for delegations. Is there another person who'd like to present? Please approach the microphone. And as I mentioned, please state your name and which item on the agenda you are addressing.
Yes, hi, it's Art Jackson from Jasper. Thank you very much, councillors, for allowing us to speak briefly on some of these storage RV items. My thoughts were more to ask council, as Councillor Hempy mentioned, the interim working with parks on finding a solution for potential RV site. And what I'm looking at is there are many sites out around the park that have been disrupted. There's gravel pits, there's, you name it, there's a number of locations that an RV site could go into. It could be a leased condition so that a private entrepreneur would actually build it and run it. And then you'd have a room for up to 200 RVs probably, just based on the numbers we have now. over 80 people or 80 individuals have lots right now, and another 100 are on the waiting list. So let's say it's 200. When those 200 people come back with all their RVs and park in town, the streets are gonna be loaded with them. So now we're gonna create nothing but a bylaw hazard and conflict. So I'm asking town administration if they, or council, if they can ask the administration to navigate with parks on a future site, whatever it takes, whether however many years it takes. And it's also the other factor, it's not just 200 people. It's their kids, their families, their relatives, everyone that comes and uses those RVs. We're talking 500 to 600 people impacted by having no place for their RV storage. And that's a mental issue, that's a socialization issue, that's a community issue. So all these things are happening because of no RVs storage. That's, I'm just asking the administration if they can work on it. So, thank you for your time. Oh, by the way, last time I presented in front of council, it was the ban spoken in Jasper. And I think we have a few people that are still on that council.
I think I was with you on the other side.
So, thank you, Mr. Jackson. Any questions for Mr. Jackson, Councillor Demota?
No questions, just comments, just because I wanted to hear the two speakers first. And when we were making the decisions, you know, I contemplated a lot of the discussion and the information that was before us. I had the very fortunate opportunity of being on the list, but then having a community member that knew I needed a place to store my RV. And so I was subleasing a spot, and when it came to making the decision, I knew that I was displacing something for myself, and it was gonna be difficult. I'm still having a difficult time trying to find a spot where I'm gonna park it. However, you know, I emphasize the 3 filters that I normally use. And like, when it comes down to it, the last part of the filter is this good for the community as a whole, and to support Councillor Hall's sentiment. That's what it came down to, right? Sometimes it's gonna be painful to make decisions for our community. We know that it's gonna hurt people, it's gonna displace people. And particularly people that have already been affected more grave than others. So it wasn't easy, it wasn't an easy process. But I think that, you know, when you think about the whole thing, what are the costs for, there are a lot of different social and economic costs there. And when you have to filter that out, you know, I think that the decision made for the time, and I still stand by it, was the right decision. And I appreciate you coming forward and prompting us for advocacy for better solutions. And I think we're working on that. And we have been with Parks Canada, and it hasn't fallen off the radar because we're quite aware of the acute situation it might be for some of the community members. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Demota. Other councillors? Councillor Hall.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor, and thank you, Mr. Jackson, for coming today. A same question too, did you watch the 2 meetings where this was discussed, and outline spaces within the park were discussed as well?
I tried to go through the Zoom things and I could not. I'm not very good at searching on all that stuff, and it just went on and on for many different events, so I never really found that particular discussion, but.
Councillor Hall.
Thank you again, Deputy Mayor. My suggestion always to residents, excuse me, who want to stay informed and know what's happening within the council chambers, agendas come out on Friday. You can look them up. You can see what's on the agenda. If you want to come and speak to anything on the agenda, that happens on Tuesday. If you want to add something to our agenda, that happens Wednesday before. Emma Acorn does an incredible job of posting our meetings on YouTube, and they're time stamped. So you don't have to filter and watch the entire meeting. You can find your spot where the agenda item is being addressed.
I'll have to get someone to show you that. Okay. Because it did work.
Other councillors? Looking to the screen for Councillor Waxer, no? Mr. Jackson, thank you for coming and presenting today, we appreciate it. And we'll be moving on to any other delegations, anyone else who'd like to present?
Thank you, Mr. Malik, and then I will be in touch with someone in administration to find out how the negotiations are going, because I'd like to be informed on that, so. However, that process gets out to the public, I'd like to hear about it, for sure. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no other presenters in the room, this will conclude the item number 5, delegations, and with that, I would like to again indicate this is something that we do in this particular council, at every council and committee of the whole meeting, offer the opportunity for delegations to present to council. And again, the process is there. We appreciate when people give us advance notice so that we can have you on the agenda. It also helps the community that they also would know what's going to be on the agenda. So with that, I'm now going to move on to item number 6, correspondence. And I have not been informed of any correspondence. Is there any correspondence for council? Seeing that there is none, we will now move on to new business. And the first item of new business is item 7.1, the Accessory Dwelling Incentive Program. And I believe that we will have our Municipal Housing Manager, Leanne Peltier, present to council.
Good morning, Mayor and Council. I am here today to provide the details on and ask that committee recommend Council approve the Accessory Dwelling Incentive Program and accompanying policy. The Housing Accelerator Fund is a federal program administered by Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation that provides targeted funding to municipalities to accelerate housing development of net new units. Jasper was recently successful in its application to the HAF, securing $9.4 million to advance local housing initiatives as outlined in the Housing Action Plan, which Council approved on March 25th, 2025. The Housing Action Plan contains 8 strategic actions to increase housing availability and affordability. The Accessory Dwelling Incentive Program, one of the 6 half-funded actions, will assist homeowners in adding an ADU to their property for long-term rental. This form of development is recognized by CMHC as one of 10 best practices to promote net new units through gentle density increases. The Accessory Dwelling Incentive Program aims to support residents to include a net new accessory dwelling in their rebuild plans or to add to existing properties, resulting in net new housing units that also count toward our HAF targets. Administration estimates the creation of 30 additional net new units over a 3-year period as a result of the program. Specifically, money received through the Housing Accelerator Fund allows the municipality to disperse $30,000 grants to eligible applicants for the development of net new ADUs on their property and $10,000 to successful applicants to convert a previously constructed but unpermitted accessory dwelling to a permitted unit. Grants associated with this program are fully funded by the Housing Accelerator Fund. In total, $780,000 of HAF funding has been allocated to this program. Successful applicants will meet the requirements of the policy and will be chosen on a first-come, first-served basis. There is no preference in the selection or division of funds between net new accessory dwellings and previously constructed unpermitted accessory dwellings. Grants will be distributed based on the total amount of funding allocated in the program budget, with no limit to the number per year. There is also no preference for the location and/or type of accessory dwelling. The owner of any building or unit where an ADU is a permitted use is eligible to apply, provided they're pursuing formal approval for an accessory dwelling, net new, not previously approved, for their site. Grants are limited to 1 per property, and if there are exceptions, they are noted in the policy. Eligible expenses under the program include costs to meet Alberta Building Code requirements, and costs associated with construction, including design, permitting, and engineering fees. Funding will not be provided for items which have a high range of discretion, such as appliances or furniture. It is important to note that the intent of the grant funding is to create net new units in the community to house residents in the long term. Funding is not permitted for use of the creation of home accommodation units. Administration and Parks Canada are working to finalize the details of the mechanism that will be used to ensure units created with this specific funding are restricted to residential long-term use. Tools considered include an amendment to lease or a funding agreement registered against title. That funds would be returned to the municipality if conversion to a PHA happened within a specific time frame. Included in the agenda package today is the proposed accessory dwelling incentive program policy for your consideration. Administration has been working on and will finalize the administrative procedures that accompany the policy over the next weeks, with the goal of launching the program and accepting applications for May 1st, 2025. As the launch date approaches, an information page on the municipal website will be developed to assist residents in accessing the program. Additionally, communications and administration will work to develop social media posts announcing the launch of the program. Approving the program and policy at committee today and council next week will allow administration to launch the program as soon as administrative procedures are finalized, ensuring funds can be accessed by residents in a timely manner. And especially considering that at this time, there are many residents considering their rebuild plans. Thank you, and I am happy to answer any questions council may have.
Thank you for the presentation, Ms. Pelkey. Looking to councillors, Councillor Keller-Rampy.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Melnick, and you to Ms. Peltier, thank you for the presentation. So if somebody wanted to put a tiny home on their back of that, would that be acceptable?
Deputy Mayor Melnick through to Councillor Keller MP, any approved ADU would be eligible. So under Parks Canada land use policy, there are approved types of ADUs. So if that was an approved type, it would be eligible.
And then if somebody was developing their basement suite, to put a suite down there, but didn't have outside accessibility, but was being used for, as a long-term residence, would that qualify?
Deputy Mayor Melnick through to Councillor Keller MP. The unit would have to be a permitted unit. In order to be a permitted unit, you would have to conform to land use policy as it stands today.
Thank you for that.
Are there other councillors? Mayor Island.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. No, through you to Ms. Peltier. I think I have 4 questions. I'll start with 2 that are combined in what I would think is an equity lens to be applied to the proposed incentive policy. I will say from the outset that I am supportive of it. I think this is a great idea to incentivize the creation of additional living units for residents within our community. I am in need of some clarification for the difference in cost or grants available to renovating previously constructed but non-permitted areas in a home as opposed to new construction. And so it's a 30,000, 10,000 differentiation. And yet I would think that we might want to incentivize people, for example, that wanted to convert a PHA that is existing, but doesn't perhaps have fire separation to convert that to residential use. I would like to incentivize that. And yet only a third of funding in grant terms would be available, and I'm not sure how we would differentiate between previous construction, which doesn't meet code requirements as opposed to something else. I just need clarity why we would have or suggest that there be a difference in the amount of available grant when the cost might still exceed the $30,000 limit for any one grant.
Deputy Mayor Malin through to Mayor Ireland. The idea is that, and perhaps erroneously, but we're assuming that a unpermitted unit that may be being used is already exists in that the majority of the construction is complete, whereas a net new unit from scratch, the cost would be higher. So that's where that difference in funding came in. It may cost substantially less to renovate an unpermitted unit that already exists, but maybe someone is living in. We could certainly examine and bring back to council that option. It would also impact the number of units that would be able to be funded if we went with those higher numbers for both, but we can certainly look at that.
I appreciate that. Just a question that came to mind reading, it's a really good material, so I thank you. The other equity question that I have relates to the $780,000 over 3 years, but the proposal is to make it all available from the outset, to incentivize more and more quickly. And I get that objective. However, my question is, might that incentivize those who have not lost their homes over those who have? So people are struggling now, just with the issues of debris removal, the final environmental testing for lots before they can even begin their plans. And so those who have to build new homes might be a considerable period away from that and not in a position to take advantage of adding new ADUs, or at least not getting grants for ADUs. Whereas somebody with an existing house might be better positioned to apply right now. And I would not like to see those people who need to rebuild deprived of an opportunity because we didn't extend the funds over a period of time and let them all get used up immediately. So I'm not sure whether that's been a consideration in the proposal or not, but it concerns me, that equitable piece.
Deputy Mayor, I'll look through to Mayor Ireland. Absolutely, we hope to be able to provide assistance to those folks that may have lost their home and want to add an ADU in their rebuild. That's one of the reasons why we're really anxious to get this up and running, recognizing that now is the time when a lot of people are making their plans. The program is based on the development permit process and timeline. So perhaps that we believe people may be closer to getting a development permit. Obviously, building permit is a long way off for a lot of folks, but we recognize that with a building permit, you could access this program. So we're hoping to be able to assist people in the rebuild in that way. Also, perhaps Director Sanders has thoughts too. She just mentioned something that administration could certainly, within the policy or administrative procedures, monitor the program. And it could be allocated over a 3-year period, that total budget. Absolutely, we agree, we do want to be able to assist folks in their rebuild. With being able to add an ADU and being able to access this program.
Turning to Director Saunders, to add if she would like to at this point.
Sure, thank you, Deputy Mayor Melnick. Did I just turn it on or off? The lights aren't working
It's
on
off.
on this one. Thank you. Deputy Mayor Melnick, very simply administratively, what we can do and intend to do is to monitor the applications as they come in to make sure it isn't swinging in one direction or another.
Thank you, Mayor Allen.
Thank you for that, and I appreciate your indulgence, Deputy Mayor Melnick. I have 2 remaining questions. Said I had 4, but they become easier each time. Under the policy itself, there is a section 5.4 determining eligible costs with reference to Alberta Building Code requirements. I asked whether there might be some way to incentivize environmentally or energy efficient buildings beyond the code. This is an opportunity not only to add and incentivize the addition of more dwelling units, but might we use this opportunity to also incentivize more efficient builds? And so award points and grant dollars, not just to those who convert space to usable residential space, but actually produce really efficient space so that we can have an impact on climate change, which the impacts are so obvious for our community. So can we double the incentive and get not just more housing, but more efficient homes?
Director Sanders.
Yes, Deputy Mayor Melnick through to Mayor Ireland. The obvious answer to this question is the Clean Energy Improvement Program, and the pieces are just assembling right now with our Energy and Environment Manager, Mona Eldabi, to put that together. So there could be an opportunity for someone who wishes to double up the grants on their construction projects.
Thank you, Mayor Allen.
Thank you for that. Last question. Under the proposed policy, under Article 3 scope, there's a reference to eligible properties. Under Article 5, there is a definition of eligible parties, but not eligible properties. And I wonder whether we need a definition for eligible properties somewhere in the document. We have a specific reference, but no definition.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Melnick through to Mayor Ireland. As part of the eligibility and requirements, the use would have to be allowed. So an eligible property would be any property under land use policy where an ADU is a permitted use. So as or if any land use policy changes and an ADU is permitted use in more areas, then that would add those properties as eligible. So we felt that as long as we reference the land use policy in the municipal policy, that covers those eligible properties.
Thank you. Thank you for your indulgence.
Thank you. Other councillors? Councillor Demona?
Thank you for recognizing me, sir. Through you, to administration in general. I don't know where the question's gonna go to either Ms. Peltier or Ms. Sanders. Just in the first of all, I just wanted to say thank you for the depictions in the report. It's very easy to understand now, like, a lot of people have asked me over time, like, what does an ADU actually look like, and whether it's standalone or basement or above a garage, so it's like color coding it like that, making it simple. So I was a Lego guy growing up, and back then Lego was pretty basic, so that really applied to me. There's been some questions on what parking might look like with the expansion, and we've had through densification conversations. Just for the public that are watching it, what types of considerations are being put into expanding more dwelling, densifying in these particular areas?
Deputy Mayor Melnick through to Councillor Demota. Currently, parking is not required for an ADU. So if you have a secondary suite in your primary residence that is housing long-term rental, you are not required to have parking. You are if it is operating as a PHA. So we don't see any impact with this program, as the policy already stands that parking isn't a requirement. When you're speaking about parking broader in the community, we are actually, just yesterday, we did the first of a 3-month engagement process with the public, looking at land use policy and how that relates to parking and density within the community. So we invite anybody to join us at the public engagement events over May and June. And we will be bringing something back to council in June, based on what we've heard in the community, trying to support some gentle density increase.
Go ahead. I like the term gentle density increase, and as much as that sounded like an infomercial, we didn't talk beforehand, so I wasn't prompting that to come out, so I was really happy to get that information out, particularly for people that are in the gallery and or watching. The other question I have is, you know, we've had a study a few years back, and we've learned a few things since you know, our disaster and the recovery, and what a dwelling unit means in the community, for the 30 potential that might benefit from this. What does one unit represent as far as a habitable space per person go? Like, is it 2.5 persons in the community that one dwelling might be able to provide housing for?
Deputy Mayor Melnick through to Councillor Demota. That would entirely depend on what the ADU created looks like. Is it a 1-bedroom? Is it a 2-bedroom, a 3-bedroom? So unfortunately, I can't provide those numbers. We know absolutely that that would be a minimum of 30 individuals. Our hope would be that, you know, maybe there some 2-bedrooms in there, or they can house couples, big enough to house couples. Yeah, but that would entirely depend on what kind of design the ADU, the property owner, wanted to build.
All right, I think that's good. I think I was just looking for a general number, but I think that's really impossible, right? When, you know, I was thinking about people displaced and you know, how many dwelling units that we lost in the fire, and then prior to that, like the 600 that we were short prior to the disaster, and you know, what that represented as far as population goes, and the opportunity for people. I think that's a harder number to come by overall. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Demota. Councillor Hall.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor Melnick. I have a comment and a question. My comment is, I just want to thank you again. I know I've said this before in public, but while we were evacuated in Belmont, Ms. Peltier spent the entire 3 weeks in her trailer on a lot working on this application. And out of this application, we're getting some really incredible programs. So I appreciate this. I thank you. I know residents do as well. My question is, if 30 is reached right away, is there opportunity for more funding for, like, if this just takes off and everybody wants to do this, is there opportunity for more that might be back to the trailer for more applications?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Melnick through to Councillor Hall. We did receive $9.4 million through the half. One of the great benefits of this funding is that it can be directed to where it is needed most. So we could definitely assess what is the demand on the program and potentially come back to council asking for approval to further fund additional units. I would like to say as well that there's a component of the program that will last beyond this initial funding. We are developing some accompanying tools for residents to basically make the process of developing an ADU easier, more efficient over the next 10 years. So some of those things look like pre-approved designs and potentially working with ADU search to get Jasper on their website. So if the $780,000 budget for grants was depleted, those tools would still exist. So we are looking at ways to provide residents with tools that will help in the long term, not just this short term funding opportunity that we have.
Thank you for that. I do have one question as it relates to the policy, and it specifically goes to point number 6 regarding requirements. And the way I'm reading the requirements is that in order to qualify for the program, you first need to get a development permit. And then once you receive a development permit, you can apply for a building permit. In our processes, we've identified that you can do both simultaneously right now. Is this in alignment with that process of being able to apply for both at the same time? Director Sanders?
Yes, Deputy Mayor Melnick, that is the case. And any applicant can apply for both. This won't change that.
Thank you. Other councillors? Mayor Ireland?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Melnick, and thank you indeed for raising an issue with respect to Article 6, because it reminds me that I have a 5th question. And you have referenced 6.2, which has a list of requirements. My question is with respect to 6.1 and why there would be a choice to use permissive rather than mandatory language in 6.1. It just seems to me that should be shall.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Melnick through to Mayor Ireland. Absolutely, we can make the change to 6.1. And when this is back in front of council next week, you will see a change in the language there.
Thank you.
And with that, I'll look around the room for other councillors. If there are any other questions, I'm going to thank you for the presentation and the articulate answers that we've received to the questions. It would appear that we need a recommendation from council to move this forward. And is there a councillor willing to make the recommendations? Councillor Keller-Ramsey?
Thank you, Dr. Mayor Melnick, that committee recommend council approve the Accessory Dwelling Incentive Program, and that committee recommend council approve the Accessory Dwelling Policy.
Thank you for that. Any discussion by councillors? Mayor Island?
Might I just suggest, I think a friendly amendment, the committee recommend council approve the accessory dwelling incentive program and the accessory dwelling policy, subject to amendments. Well, for sure, based on today's discussion rather than listening more. so that we're looking at a fresh document, but approving the principle, what's happening, but recognizing that we're not necessarily recommending that we approve the document we saw today, but with amendments that will come next week.
I accept the primary amendment.
Thank you, Councillor Callanappi and Mayor Island. Is there any other discussion? As there is none, then I will call the question. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you, and thank you, Councillor Waxer, for voting in favor as well. We now move on to the next agenda item, which would be 7.2, community matters, and I will refer to Councillor Callanappi for this discussion.
Okay, so I had brought the trailer law for this morning on an advocacy idea that maybe at our next intergovernmental, we could talk to parks. I had talked to many people that are upset, as we know, about using the trailer area, but I was wondering that, like, you know, for the summer, everybody's gonna be using them. So I was wondering, like, if, you know, if parks would be interested in thinking outside the box, that where we could use maybe the parking lot of the sort of campground for the winter, or the overflow at Snary, but I thought it warranted a conversation at one of our intergovernmental meetings, see if some outside the box thinking maybe they could help with this solution for winter time.
Thank you, Councillor DeBruda.
I appreciate you bringing that up too. And one of the things that, you know, I was speaking to and thinking outside the box, although might be perceived as self-serving, but it's because I have a different, you know, perspective. There are recreational vehicles that aren't necessarily things to dwell in, whether they're tents or campers and things like that, where we have opportunities maybe to provide some storage for, and I'm talking about boats and other things. And one of the reasons we're not using the woodlot is because it's deemed inappropriate or by the province for any particular dwelling unit, even if it's a temporary one like a camper or a trailer. So that's one of the reasons why we can't use the woodlot, regardless if people aren't sleeping in it. It's just a no-go. So you know, those are conversations that we can have. And I think when you start to think outside the box, there are opportunities within or outside the community that we can explore. And I think having the conversation is definitely worth it, particularly when we have to go back to storage in the fall for the winter. Thank you. Thanks for bringing that forward.
Thank you, Councillor DeBruda. Councillor Callanappi.
So is there an appetite at council table to make this one of the topic at our next intergovernmental?
So am I hearing a motion from you? Thank you. Any discussion on the motion?
I think that maybe administration would like to have a specific motion.
Councillor, Deputy, let's go with Mayor Island.
I thank you, Deputy Mayor Melnick. I hear the issue. I accept that it's an issue that we can provide some advocacy with Parks Canada. So in the absence of a different motion, I would make a motion that council direct administration to add the topic of future storage lots to our next intergovernmental forum.
Looking to administration, clear for everyone involved. Any comments? We have a motion on the floor. Call the question. All those in favor? And that's carried unanimously. Councillor Callanappi, we have another item that you would like to bring up under community matters.
Fire pits. I've had a lot of people are worried about our fire pits in our gardens this summer. If we can standardize them, or if maybe we shouldn't allow fires this year. people are worried. It's, I'm not asking for an answer today, it's just something I'm bringing up, that people are genuinely worried that embers from the fire pits. Some people have homemade fire pits, some people have bulk fire pits, maybe it's something that, could be ask administration to take to the fire department and, bring us back a recommendation at a future committee as a whole, if there is concerns within the fire department, for that this summer here in Jasper, people are very worried that it's getting windier every summer here. And that when people are enjoying fireside, some people have a small fire, some people have parties that have large fires, and, there's concern in the community for safety this summer. People are very worried.
Thank you for that. Councillor Hall?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Melnick. Around the, maybe I have a question for administration around fires within the town site, and is that I know sometimes there's a fire ban, is that a provincial thing, is that a federal thing, is it municipal rule, like when does a fire ban come in effect for within our municipal boundaries and people's yards?
Director Nadal?
Deputy Mayor Melnick, through to Councillor Hall, this is regulated in our fire bylaw, and the fire chief has authority to establish a fire ban within the municipal boundaries, and traditionally, we follow Parks Canada's lead in terms of assessment of the conditions and the science that goes around establishing fire bans, and we know it is a topic that arises in the community every time the conditions get drier, and the typical communications aspect of it that we bring forward is that it is very science-based. So we have teams at parks that spend a lot of time looking at those conditions and making those decisions, and like I said, the fire department usually follows in step. And I would welcome a motion from committee directing administration to return to a future committee of the whole with more information on that. And as a matter of fact, our fire chief has been working on that fire bylaw, some housekeeping items, nothing too major, but it would be a great opportunity to frame it that way.
Thank you, Director Nadal. Other councillors? Councillor Demona?
Well, it just dawned on me now that conversation that we might have missed another opportunity to have our first Jasper Day. And I don't think that should ever be taken off the radar, but I remember past debates at council and discussion, and one opportunity that the mayor came up with at the time when we were discussing it was perhaps maybe around our fire smarting day that we normally have, and it's like on the third Saturday or that third weekend of April. And I still think that there's an opportunity for us, particularly now, to maybe look at something like that in the future, bringing people together in the community. Fire smarting is a good way to go about it. And again, like my whole drive for it was always been about bringing community together and not having an official celebration for people to come here and visit because it's Jasper Day and all that, and it might turn into something like that. However, I think more now than ever, even though we're falling short of the weekend coming up, I definitely would like to see something in the future where we can celebrate, just have a Jasper Day for locals, and wherever that lands, I hope that at one point in time that it just develops organically in the community. I look forward to seeing that one day. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Hall?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Melnick. One quick question around propane fire pits wouldn't be included in a ban of a full fire ban?
Director Nadal?
Thank you for the question, Councillor Hall. Appliances that are certified, so there's a specific, I'm gonna say UL or ULC or something. Those appliances that are approved are usually okay to use during a fire ban, and we also include all of that information in our public communications. Tiki torches are not allowed during a fire ban, but appliances that are approved, so barbecues, propane fire pits, generally are.
Thank you for that. It was suggested that we have a motion to the direct administration. Is a councillor prepared to make that motion?
I make the motion that we direct administration to bring back a report, regarding the, fire bylaws and, communications for the upcoming summer. And the science around how it's all rolled out. Makes sense.
I see Director Nadal is moving her head accordingly, in agreement, understanding the motion. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, I'll call a question, regarding the motion to direct administration to bring forward a report regarding, the fire bylaws for the summer. I think that's in the essence of what the motion was. Thank you. All those in favor? And that's carried unanimously. Councillor Keller-Ampey, another item you had in the community matters.
Yes, dust, and I want to thank our operations team. I've seen them out yesterday with the sweepers and watering down the areas. But I was wondering if this comment could be passed on to JRC. I've had a lot of comments on dust coming from the trucks that are carrying debris in that. If they could make sure that the coverings are tightly locked down and there's a lot of dust created, again, if they could reduce their speeds to 30 kilometers an hour, there's a lot of dust as they go. I work over in S-Block myself, and I have to say the dust is crazy over there. Nobody's fault, it's the rebuild, but if we can ask people that are driving the trucks slow down to 30, and if they could tighten down the coverings on to make sure that the debris is staying within the trucks and not flying out with dust.
Thank you for that. Councillor DeBona?
Well, again, grateful that this came forward today, and maybe just a little bit more of a public service announcement from myself. Recently, when I was having my vehicle serviced, I was asked how recently I'd replaced my cabin filter, and I went, "Oh, it's been a couple of years." And having done so, on that recommendation, I found that there quite a bit of debris was collected in there, and I think that I'd just like to remind people that there are several filters in your vehicles, and if you think about it, you're riding around in a giant mask in the community, and you're probably going into places where debris is kicked up a little bit more. And I recommend taking a look at that. Every vehicle is different. But I did find a huge difference once I did replace it in my vehicle, and I thought, well, this is information I could be sharing with the community too, because not everybody thinks of it. I've talked to a few friends and they didn't even know one existed. So again, I would recommend searching it or looking at your owner's manual to see where it is, but definite must to especially now. And I'm going to be changing mine up at least once a year, if not twice, especially after going through a dusty period like this. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor DeMona. Councillor Hunt.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Melnick. I have a question for administration. This may not be something you can answer, but when a contractor arrives in town for the first time, are they given some kind of welcome package? Welcome to Jasper, kids ride bikes, don't go fast, like that? Are they briefed on what our community is about? And I appreciate that we are going to be a construction zone for quite some time. I just wonder if, that's my question.
Director Nadal.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Melnick through Councillor Hall. Yes, every contractor that it's attached to the demolition permit or the construction permits is how we catch them. So we have their contact information, and the JRCC is working directly with them, and they get all that information. So the information does get to them, and the way operationally that it works, and maybe that supports will help you answer some questions Councillor Kelleher MP, is that our bylaw team is actually quite involved with the JRCC and some concerns around parking, around staging areas, so we don't have jurisdiction over moving traffic violations, so speeding would not be something that we can address. But certainly if residents have concerns about that kind of stuff, they can contact bylaw, just call the duty phone. We're a 7-day-a-week operation, and that's a good entry point or way to cache those inputs if residents have concerns, and we've been actively liaising between the contractors, the JRCC and the bylaw team are working quite well together, and I will pass on the information, so through Director Asarte, who's acting director of JRCC right now, and Mr. Olthoff as well, we'll make sure that we pass on your comments from today.
Thank you for that, Director Nadal. With that, Councillor Kelleher, one more, that's the closure of Geikie
Yeah.
Street on the 900 block.
Yeah, I was just wondering if there's a term closure or it is closed for the foreseeable future. I've had a few people say there's not a lot of construction in the area, that there's an apartment that's operating down there. And I was just wondering if that street is going to be closed on a permanent basis. And I don't expect an answer today. I've just been, I've got a couple of calls on that.
Thank you for that. Director Nadal?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Melnick, through Councillor Kelleher MP. I do have the answer to this, so I'm happy to answer, and there's a high likelihood that that road will stay closed until the structures around that block are rebuilt. So, yeah, I'll leave it at that, but given the devastation and the amount of work that needs to take place in that area, the road could be used for laydown, it could potentially be used for contractor camps, it could be used for all kinds of recovery and rebuild related purposes, and our intent is likely to keep it closed.
Thank you for that, Mrs. Nadal.
Thank you. Councillor Hall.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor Melnick, and thank you for that information, Ms. Sidon. I think it's important that we as community members and residents realize and understand, and Councillor Deputy Mayor Melnick has said this a few times, that we are not going to be business as usual for quite some time, and I really appreciate the outside of the box thinking of how to rebuild our community as quickly and efficiently as possible.
Thank you. I think that concludes the items under new business, and we're moving now to motion action list, item 8 on our agenda. And I will look to Director Nadal for comments on the motion action list.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Melnick. You will see that there are a couple changes to status proposed. So this is our first committee of the whole meeting of the month. So any items that have a target date of April might come back in 2 weeks. But the climate change adaptation plan, we are recommending to defer this item to June. There's more staff time required to bring that one closer to completion. Also, the wildfire recovery strategic priorities is also recommended to be deferred till May. And that has to do with the Recovery Advisory Committee and the timelines required there to get the work complete. And those are the only 2 changes formally that we're looking for. And then I would like to use this opportunity to provide a bit of an update on the Rockaboo climbing facility. So this was initially presented hand in hand with the pop-up business village file, which council made a decision on that last week. And then for the Rockaboo climbing facility, the motion is here from March 25th, where council directed administration to research and bring back information on the variety of topics. And in order to get a good report and some good proposals in front of council and for the best outcomes in the community, we're asking for a bit more time there. So it did not come back today, but we are planning to bring it back at the next committee of the whole. So the date escapes me now, but later in April 22nd maybe. And so the JRCC is actively working on this file, and we'll have a more thorough report for council to consider at that time. So the file's been quite public. So if residents and businesses are wondering what's happening, that's when it will come back next.
Thank you for that additional information, councillors. Any questions for Director Nadon on the motion action list? Saying none, I believe we would need a motion to approve the updated motion action list. Councillor Hall, thank you. I'll call the question. All those in favor? Carried unanimously, which brings us to item number 9 on the agenda, and that is Councillor upcoming meetings. Looking to councillors if they have anything to report. In the interim, I will suggest that I did attend the virtual Alberta Municipalities Towns West Zoom call on April 2nd, which was very enlightening regarding this different topics that were brought up, including the LGFF capital, which is provided by the provincial government to as grant funding for infrastructure, and also discussions evolved around floods, fires, and drought. Understanding that the area that this particular zone covers areas all the way north to the 60th parallel and all the way south to the 49th parallel. So we had a variety of discussions there. I will also be attending, starting tomorrow, the Economic Developers of Alberta Conference in Kananaskis, and this is on behalf of Community Futures West Yellowhead. Councillor Keller-Hamby.
I don't have any immediate upcoming meetings, but I will give you a quick update. I was not here last week. I was in Edmonton at the Alberta Senior and Community Housing Conference, and I did have the opportunity to speak with Minister Nixon. And Pine Grove will be going ahead. They're looking at building it bigger, but around 42 to 45 units. We're currently around 33 units. The line is in the budget. They're also very good news considering the senior center as part of Pine Grove. And that within the next coming months, currently they're working with the architects and design and getting the project moving. And once they have some drawings of that, they will be organizing a meeting with the seniors from Pine Grove. And I will advise council on that date, and it will be arranged either in Jasper or in Hinton to review the property that they're proposing. And good news, 22 units will arrive in Hinton in the near future to help house our displaced seniors from Pine Grove.
Thank you for that, Councillor Keller-Hamby. Other councillors? Oh, sorry, Councillor Waxer.
Thank you. I attended the seniors community conversation last week, and just again to consider this for our intergovernmental meeting, that there was the sentiment expressed that many seniors are very anxious about the need to reside clause, especially those who are displaced, and that many of them, although they've heard verbally from Parks Canada that they are absolutely welcome to return to the community when possible, many of them would be very appreciative of written notice in that way. There was significant conversation from multiple sources around that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Waxer. Councillor Demota.
I don't have anything to report as far as committee assignments go, but I just through you to Director Nadon, maybe just for next week. Are we expecting a JRCC update at all? Yeah, okay. I just wanted to make sure because I had some questions on that going forward for other committee conversations. Thank you.
Thank you. Other councillors? Mayor Ireland.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Melnick, and not to address upcoming meetings, but to address Councillor Keller-Rempe's report. It is delightful to hear that the minister has already been persuaded by the advocacy that we voted for a week ago. That is to increase the number of units at Pine Grove and to include the senior center in there. It's very rewarding indeed to hear that those plans are already underway. So credit to the provincial government for recognizing the needs of our community and in particular the needs of our seniors. And thank you to Councillor Keller-Rempe for attending in that venue and bringing back that news for us. Just great news to share with council and with the community. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Mr. Ireland. Sorry, Mayor Ireland. Seeing no other hands, I believe we will now move to agenda item 10, upcoming events, and in summary, we have started the Jasper Business Recovery Lunch and Learn. First session was on April 3rd. There are 4 more sessions that will be available to individuals to zoom in. The Jasper Pride and Ski Festival is happening right now. There was a flag raising ceremony on Friday, which was well attended in Commemoration Park. The Jasper Park Chamber of Commerce General Meeting is on April 16th at 6 p.m. in Cassio's Restaurant. Our Wildfire Preparedness Information Session will be held on April 23rd at the Multipurpose Hall at 7 p.m. Following, or prior to that, NEPMA will be at the Jasper Yellowhead Museum and Archives between 4:30 and 6:30 on the 23rd as well. Approaching in May is the National Day of Awareness for Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women and Girls, as well as the day is also known as Red Dress Day on May 5th. We have our Emergency Preparedness Week open house, which will occur from 3 to 7 on May 7th at the Emergency Services Building. And following that, in that week, we will have the Community Fire Smart Day on Saturday, May 10th. And again, a reminder, the Federation of Canadian Municipalities Annual Conference and Trade Show will be held in Ottawa between May 29th and June 1st. I'm looking to Councillor Keller-Rempe that we have another upcoming event.
Tonight, the All Candidates Forum will be held at the Forest Park Hotel at 7 p.m.
Thank you for that.
for the elections coming up.
Thank you. Any other upcoming events? No, I'm sorry, Mayor Island.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Melnick. 2 matters. Firstly, and I cannot say how public it is, it might be an event by invitation, but I understand that there will be a premiere at the Jasper Yellowhead Museum and Archives on Thursday evening, April 10th. A documentary filmed here in the fall called Fire from the Ground Up. So I've been alerted to that. But again, I bring that to the attention of council. There might be an opportunity to be part of what might be a invitation only premiere, but it's occurring. Could be of interest and will undoubtedly make further opportunities available for showing something. And the last upcoming event would be something for today, if council will indulge me. My own oversight, I had been asked yesterday whether we might add an in-camera item relating to personnel or labor. So an issue related to staff, which I was only reminded when Councillor Waxer spoke recently. And so if council is receptive, I would like to make a motion that we move in camera to discuss an item of personnel. And I can assure the public and those watching that once we revert to open session, it would simply be for the purposes of adjournment. There would be no council business arising from an in-camera discussion concerning municipal staff.
Thank you for that. Mayor Island?
You know, I'm glad that the mayor brought that up. I had a particular discussion on that topic to talk about today. And unfortunately, the person who I wanted to be here is not present today for that, but if it's going to be along the same lines, I also have an item that is going to be on the exact same, it's HR committee discussion request.
Thank you for that, Councillor Demona. And with that, before we make a motion to move in camera, I would like to thank the delegations and individuals who attended today's meetings. I'd like to thank administration for the work put into the items on the agenda, and to the general public who have decided to tune in and Zoom and view our Zoom meetings. Of course, this meeting will be available on our website, if not late today, most likely tomorrow. And I encourage members of the general public to take the opportunity to take a look at A, the agenda, and B, if you're so disposed, to review our Zoom meetings. Is there any other business before council before we move in camera? I see none. I would like to have a motion, Councillor Hall, to move in camera. All those in favor? Thank you. And that concludes the public portion of the meeting. And as Mayor Island said, when we return, we will strictly be returning to adjourn the meeting. Thank you.